This video is brought to you by my Patreon members over on patreon.com/habtunes. Thank you all for your support. And if you're interested in becoming a member, you can check the link in the description below. Yo, what's good? It's me, your guy, all the way from Bed-Stuy, Habo, here for another exciting episode of the Art Block with the one and only Will Focus. Will, what's good, my brother?
Right. What's going on, Hab? How's everything? I'm well. Let me say that. I am well as well can be. I had an interesting past couple of days, but I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
good.
okay. I feel that. I love the jewelry you got on here. Where'd you get that?
Listen, adorned in Taji.
Ooh.
Not adorned by, but
Yep.
adorned in Taji. You can find her on all social media. Happens to be a very, very close, intimate person that I know, But I harass her all the time to make sure I get new jewelry, like
That's
neckwear, wristwear, rings, all of that good stuff.
I got to start shopping there instead of giving the white folks my money for this stuff,
that part.
Absolutely. So there's one thing I want to jump into like immediately, because I always thought this was a interesting aspect, because you don't see a lot of, because we talked about this on the phone the other day, you don't see a lot of black men like visual artists out there. You don't see a lot of black male entrepreneurs. We do exist, but it's like hard to find us. And you're interesting because you are married and you have children. So touch on how that plays into your artistry and your career, and how you manage all these different things.
As far as my children, they have been the number one, 2 and 3 motivating factors in my career, life trajectory, who I am as a person. What happened was, when they came into the world, it was, and I think this might happen for a lot of people who end up having children. They're like, I'm going to be everything to them that the portion of my parents lacked. I'm going to make sure I give them all of these things. So I always vowed, number one, never to lie to my kids. Number two, always to make them proud by being an example for them, that they can show other people and be like, yeah, my dad did this, my dad did that, blah, blah, blah. So with everything that I do now, it's with an attempt to make them proud. And it's weird because you would think, kids are always trying to make their parents proud. But as a parent, I'm always trying to make my kids proud of me as a father. So it was I had twins first, boy and girl, and they're old at this point. The youngest is 18 and the twins are now 22.
Wow.
And yeah, so they're my daughter just graduated Howard.
Nice.
She had with a 4.0 summa cum laude.
That's what we talking about.
I'm brag a little bit.
Yeah.
She went there. She their first off, their ceremony was amazing. Like, it was like they had 2 different ceremonies. So the first one was in, for all the schools, it was in the Capital One Arena in DC, and Joe Biden was their speaker. And I'm gonna be real with you, I was not impressed. Neither were the students. It was very, very like boring, mundane.
It's Joe.
Equivalent of, like, you know what it is? You ever go to okay, this is the best way I could say this without it sounding like it's too weird.
Okay.
Have you ever looked at the differences between, let's say, like a primarily Catholic or white church and then a down south Baptist church?
Yes.
There's a very distinct cultural difference between the two. So the main commencement ceremony was like a white Catholic service. They went back to their school and had their individual ceremonies for their specific schools. Like, she's School of the Arts, fashion design, which means she went to the Chadwick Boseman School of the Arts, which is, the president is Felicia Rashad. So her individual ceremony was completely different.
Right.
Like, they had dudes on the djembe and instruments. They came in a certain music. They had performances. Felicia Rashad handed her diploma. Like,
nice.
They had these talks from other. It was really, really beautiful. But so there's her. My son, her twin brother, he initially went to Pratt, and then he COVID hit, which screwed everything up for everybody. when that hit, he restructured what he wanted to do, and he actually is now going to school at the University of Dubai. So he's overseas.
Wow.
And then the youngest just graduated high school, and he's about to go to. He's going to start at Morgan for his first term. Then he's going to North Carolina A&T for a second term and trying to finish up there. But yeah, like super proud and busy. So, you know, I love it. They motivate me. I try to motivate them. So, you know, that's how it is.
That's what's up. Did you always have in mind what you wanted them to do, or did you kind of, as time went on, be like, yo, you guys got it as long as you're safe and you're aware of your surroundings?
I always told them, do whatever it is that makes you comfortable. I even told them, I said, to be honest, the only reason I went to college was I was first generation, you know, male in my family graduating college. And I only did that as a proof of concept for my mother, because I wanted her to be able to be proud of that. And my dad as well. And but I think he was more so similar to me in the sense of he wanted me to be happy. It wasn't so much of go to college. And for them, I was always just like, you can go to college if that's what you want to do, but it's not necessary, not for the fields that you guys specifically want to go for, unless you want to learn specific applicable things like hands-on, but you can really do it yourself. My daughter going for fashion design, she didn't necessarily need to go to college for that, but that was what she chose. She wanted to go there. And I encourage them to do what they want to do. Same thing for my son. He's into game design, her twin brother, and their youngest brother is actually into music, and he's actually doing that. So I'm like, you don't have to go, but if you choose to, so be it. And whatever you want to be involved in, I want to just support that and make sure you go all in for whatever you decide to do. So I was just supportive of whatever it was. I didn't try to like put my hand in and say, oh, you should be a doctor, or you should be this. It was follow your passion. I'll support you in that.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful, because I feel like a lot of the times, especially in the Black community, there's always like this notion of like, you got to be this, you got to be that. And, you know, my parents weren't really like doing that to me, but I do appreciate that they gave me a bit of freedom of, you know, to explore in the same way that you let your children do so as well. Now, let's transition over to the amazing art couple that you and they are, right?
It's just me, but you know.
She gonna get you. Don't do that. Don't do that. She gonna watch this. So that's always been like a really cool thing to see for me when I see people in the industry, whether it's fashion or photography or any other, you know, art-based industry or job. How has that benefited you, and have there been moments where it was kind of tense, where it's just like, all right, maybe you should go over there and I'm gonna work over here and we'll do our separate thing for a little bit and then come back together?
I'm gonna say this because I feel like Nay and I are an anomaly.
Uh-huh.
I literally love working with her 24/7 and vice versa. Like, we don't get sick of each other. We don't get tired. So much to the point where her mom looked at us one day and her aunt, and they were like, y'all don't get sick of each other? Y'all are around each other all the time. And we were like, nope. So I have a best friend that I've known since I was 3.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long ass time. And then Nay came along when I was in Nay came along like right at the beginning of my college years. So meeting her, it's been a very, very long time, and we became really close because we shared a love for dance. I was doing a lot of hip hop dance in college. She was doing.
You was dancing?
Thing. Oh, I was dancing. I can dance, bro.
What?
Like, are you serious?
I didn't know that. What you talking about? Okay, all right. I'm gonna turn off the camera now.
No, so we first started out with a love for dance, which pulled us together. We also have very, very similar upbringings, which also tied us together way more than we expected. And then our families are similar. And it is such a weird dynamic. And because of that, when I finally came back from Philly, because I was going to school in Philly, and she was actually at Howard, when she came back to New York first, we met in Philly because her friend went to one school and who knew my friends, and we all went to this party. We ended up at the party at the same time, and I saw this girl dance, and I was like, who is that? Because nobody dances like that I know of that's in this area, especially as a college girl. So we clicked on that, linked up. When we both got back to New York, I was like, I want to start this company. Like, are you down? And she was like, of course. And so we started Fifth Gear Multimedia. And we were throwing events like dance competitions, vocal competitions, fashion shows. We had art shows. It was just a bunch of stuff, creative stuff.
Yeah.
And then whatever our talents were, because she also draws, but she keeps that on the hush because she doesn't do that as much anymore. But we started building together. So we got really, really close. But then she navigated away and started focusing on photography. I focused on illustration. And then we would intertwine the two. But still, like, if I was doing something, she would be there. If she was doing something, I'd be there. And it never got old. Like, it was just, if I was down, she was the battery in my back. And if she's down, I'm the battery in her back. So we really complement each other like super duper well. And it's always worked. We're never sick of each other. People might get sick of us because we don't get sick of each other. But, you know, it is what it is. I love her to death. So
that's amazing. That is amazing, man. Like, honestly, because it's so rare to just see, not even just on the art side of things, just in general, like Black love that is so, I can't even think of the word right now, just so real and genuine like that. Because even when I saw y'all, when I first met you and I started hanging out with y'all a little bit here and there, like, I see it. It's like as soon as you came in the other week and y'all was just goofing off, I'm just like, these are cartoon characters right here. They fit each other so well.
I know you're not talking about the other week. You mean the time you got me to eat that nasty, disgusting jelly bean?
Who, me? I never did nothing. I never did nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yo, don't trust him because he's lying right now. Don't trust him.
Yo, them jelly beans are crazy. Like, I had to do that. So when I got those, I did it on stream. And it was like a challenge, so people donated points. So if somebody had the points, I had to do it. I did that spicy one, and I had, I think it was either Carolina Reaper or one of the other hot ones. And like, it doesn't hit you immediately. It kind of slides in, and then it's like doesn't stop. So I ran away. I tried to get juice, water, yogurt, everything, rice. I was just trying to get everything. It was just too hot. I felt like my
rice.
Yeah, because I thought my tongue was like swelling up. I was like, I'm just like, yo, why would somebody create this? Why did someone sit there in the lab and was like, you know what you do, Jerry? What should we do, George? Let's make hot jelly beans.
And I said this to you. I was like, I've always wondered if thes were as bad as people said.
Yeah.
And they absolutely are.
Yes.
I had never ever experienced it until you did that. So I'm blaming you for setting me up like that. And
I didn't force you. You willfully said yes.
Right. I accepted the challenge. But you know what? That was my ego.
Mm-hmm.
I knew the answer. And you know what I laughed at afterwards? It's the fact that you heard me say the wrong answer to the question before. You were like, what did you say? He was like, what'd you say his name is? I don't know. Have they seen it?
It's going to be out before this goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he goes, what are the names of the actual fairy godparents in Fairy Godparents? I was like, oh, I know this. Easy. I was like, Wanda and Cosgrove. He was like,
with your chest, with your whole chest. Cosgrove.
He was like, wait, what? What's the other one? I said, you said, what's her name? I said, Wanda. You say, and what's the other one? I said, Cosgrove. He said, Cosgrove? And I was like, yeah. And you were like, you sure? I was like, yeah, like that man's name is Cosgrove. Like, I know this. And you were like, and I was like, there's no way.
Yeah, nah.
His name isn't Cosgrove.
Where did you even get Cosgrove from?
Yo,
that sounds way too fancy.
And on everything I love, that's what I always heard when Wanda said his name.
That's crazy.
I always heard, because I always hear Wanda specifically saying his name.
Right.
And maybe it's the way she says it that I always just heard Cosgrove because I watched the cartoon.
Right.
So I felt the way that I was that wrong. See, look, there you go. You're doing it again. I don't like that. Look. No, I did thought it was that. And you were like, you know what? We'll give that to you. It's Cosmo. We'll give that to you. We'll let you go to the next question.
Yeah.
And you were like, what is the name of Tommy Pickles? I was like, oh, Rugrat.
No, hold on. No, you're skipping the part where you got a little confident. You remember? I was like, what's the name of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle villain? You was like, Shredder. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get you.
I could have said Shredder, Krang, Baxter the Fly. Like, we could have went down. Like, I could have talked about the old people and their buddies was the neutrinos, and we could have went there. But you hit me with a Rugrat question.
I had to drop that Nickelodeon on you.
And I was like, oh, I got this. I'm a Nickelodeon kid. If you had asked me Disney stuff, I would have known, but I was a Nick kid. I was never like a Disney kid. So when you said that, I remember Rugrats heavy because Rugrats, Doug, and Ren and Stimpy came out at the same time as the 3 Nickelodeon cartoons that were hitting the streets, and I was on it. So you said
you definitely Rugrats, was on it.
He was like Tommy Pickles' dog, and I was like, he had a dog, and drawing a blank because I was on the spot, not knowing that I knew this answer. And when you said it afterwards, I literally wanted to run in traffic. But anyway. You're like, no, it's Spike. His name is Spike.
It's like, how do you, out of all the characters, I would have give you, if you didn't know, like, I don't know, the grandfather's name or something, that would have been fine. But Spike was like literally right there in the trenches with them on every adventure. Right. He saved their lives in the movie.
Yes. And I told you they had that dedicated episode where they were trying to be like him and eating dog food because they thought he had an easy life. They were like, oh, we want to be like Spike. So they were on a hunt to get dog food. I remembered it immediately after you said the name, and I was like, I'm an idiot. But it's fine.
You know what's crazy? When you look back at those shows, like they implemented so much horror in 90s cartoons and even beyond that, like 80s, 70s, 60s. They implemented so much horror. Like I remember specifically the episode where Stu builds the clown robot and they all turn evil, talking about, I'm your friend. I was like, yo, I still think about that today. It's freaky. And then the other one with the when Angelica thought she was having a brother and he had the giant baby dream.
Yeah, she was freaking out.
Yeah, I would too if a giant baby talking about some num num. Num num. Got no teeth talking about num num. Get out of here.
There were a lot of horror-based themes in those cartoons.
Do you think that a lot of that was because the creators were trying to be well-rounded and they were trying to have more experiences for kids to have? Or do you think it was just like that time period of just like, we don't really care, let's just do us?
I think there was a lot less political correctness. So a lot of the things that they were putting in cartoons back then were just what they creatively wanted to do. They didn't care. And you got to think that this is all coming after a strong Tom and Jerry and Looney Tunes era where violence was just like in the cartoon.
Yeah, they was unaliving themselves in there.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like when a situation like let's say, nightmares and things like that, they try to do it in a way where it touches on things that, like in Rugrats, that kids may be scared of, but at the same time kind of making it fun and sticking true to what they think would be realistic. I just think it was, what they did. Now I think it's more, a lot of people are thinking like marketability wise, and they're also thinking politically correct. So I don't think they put as much things in there as they do. And if they do, there are more innuendos. Like it flies under the radar in the way that they put certain things in the cartoons now. Before it was more blatant, I feel like. And done intentionally out of creative liberty. Now
it's definitely a little bit more subtle. Like if there is something, they'll probably squeeze in like one tiny thing per episode. But before, I remember just the other day I was looking at clips because I'm putting all these all those quiz shows together. So I had to find a clip of Barney Rubble. So this clip of Barney Rubble and Fred are like going to a costume store, right? And Fred goes, Barney, you should get that costume. It gives you 3 heads. He goes, Fred, why do I need a 3rd? I'm just like, yo.
We know. And they probably
yeah, he sure did. But the funny thing is that show, when it first came out, was supposed to be for adults. It was supposed to be like an animated mirror to the Honeymooners. And then over time, it became a more family-oriented kids show. And I think that's like such a interesting thing to see, that like a lot of those early comics and cartoons were primarily just for the adult audience. Do you think that we should kind of get back to that kind of style, or should all the cartoons and animations be specifically targeted towards younger children?
I always thought, and this is a very weird thought process that I almost never speak out loud, so I'm going to speak it. a safe space
Yes.
that's going to be seen publicly by everybody else. But anyway, so what it is I thought about stuff like that, right? And I'm like, so take Shrek, for example.
Donkey.
Kids went to see it, but adults really enjoyed it because there were like certain themes and things that were in there that only adults would have gotten. When I think about the perfect system for it, I think about anime and manga. And the reason I say that is because if you look at mangas, right, unlike
and hold on, for the people that are unfamiliar with those terms, what are you talking about, man?
Okay, so Japanese comics.
Okay.
Right? That's a manga. So if you see those, it's Japanese comics, if you ever see that. And anime is actually, Japanese animation, or it's a specific style type, but stylistically, and people argue this, like, what is anime? Is it actual animation, or is it where it actually comes from in terms of being developed? But I won't get into those logistics. I'll leave that up for the masses to argue. But I realized in the beginning, you grow up as young men or young boys. If you're watching anime, you're really seeing Shonen Jump, which is a young boy. And basically it represents, a downtrodden young man or boy who has these hopes or aspirations of being a hero and doing something grand or saving people or whatever.
Like Naruto.
So you go with him. Yeah, exactly. You go with him on that journey. Like his thing was, my ninja way, eventually I'm going to become Hokage. And obviously he does. Like that's a huge thing. Like we watch Goku go from little Goku to being somebody who has godlike power. Bleach, same thing. You're watching a high school student become somebody who is one of the strongest Shinigami. Then you got Luffy, who is basically a nobody pirate to an extreme god tier level pirate. And I don't even watch One Piece like that. I just know. But anyway, that's one portion of the system. But when I was younger, I didn't know that. Like, so they have types for everybody. Like they have types for young boys, young girls. They have types for adult women, adult men. They even have types for different sexuality, like what you might be into. They have a type of everything, even horror anime. Like if that's like your specific like genre that you love, because I'm a horror buff. I love horror movies.
Oh, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that.
I love it. Like, so they have those specific genres that appeal to every individual person. And most people who hear anime, they're like, oh, that's corny. It's a kid's thing, blah, 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 blah. But that's because they haven't been introduced to it properly. Everybody has a certain proclivity, things that they like that appeal to them. And anime literally has something for everybody. The hero boy, you don't have to give that to the woman who likes to watch rom-com, because they have that. In anime, like they have that specific, they have slice of life stuff that's almost like soap operas where it's just regular family worker everyday things. They have things where people are reincarnated from one life into another and they have to figure out survival and X, Y, and Z. And then they have these, futurist type anime. Like it's so many, and the art styles are different when you go to different ones. But I feel like if all the systems should adopt that, like even in Western animation or comics, you have things that are for the kids, but then you have things that are for the adults. You don't need to have one or the other. You should have both. And then as they grow, they appreciate, or if they're watching things with their kids, like I do and did, I can still appreciate it. I didn't grow up on SpongeBob per se, but I love SpongeBob. Like, don't ask me why. I love SpongeBob like to death. Him, like, and I don't like Patrick. Patrick is the
hey. Don't do that to my boy. He was out here singing "Never Would Have Made It."
That AI over from Patrick had me crying.
Oh God, yeah.
But yeah, so that's my thought process. I think there should be both.
I don't think that's weird. You said that was going to be weird. That's not a weird thought process.
Well, I kind of excluded a portion of the anime and manga aspect because there's actually so you know how
he's like, all right, you want the weird? I got the weird.
It's weird because most people don't know it. In Japan, their sexual deviancy crime rate is actually lower, and a lot of people
I know where you're
attribute
going.
that to some of the available content in anime and manga, because there is content that would appeal to people who would have behaviors that society would normally frown upon. It's a specific segment of it, and they feel like statistically, because they have access to that, their rates of sexual deviancy that we experience here that are so high often are very, very low. So I do feel like when I say there's something for everybody, there's something for everybody. And that's not to excuse the behavior because it's deplorable. But I'd rather somebody have content they can watch that's in an animated form that keeps them from physically acting on urges that they might need to, go and get professional help with.
So you telling me that the Japanese society is low crime rates on sexual deviancy because of sexual cartoons?
I'm gonna answer your question with a question. You ready?
Okay. All right, I'm ready.
Where else can you go to watch somebody, let's say hentai, right? Watch somebody have intercourse with a demon.
TikTok. No, I'm kidding.
Like, that's
ice cream so good.
Yum. But like is that was the portion I wanted to kind of like stay away from, because that
I get you.
Touchy. But
no, I definitely see that, and I do love the variety that we see, not just from them, but now here in America and European and Brazilian cartoons, where you have a lot more adult-oriented animation, like Gendy Tartakovsky. He does Primal. That was a very gory, very brutal show, and that's definitely not for kids. And I think that like we need that balance, right? Because I personally feel that it's been leaning more towards just like happy rainbow fun time stuff, and I feel like that's cool, but we also have to remember that there were other things. Like back in the 80s, there was Fire and Ice, heavy metal. What was that one with Cool World? I think it was Cool World.
Yeah, where the blonde girl was changing into the cartoon character. Yep.
And even Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you had all these these movies and shows that were definitely made with some general audience in mind, but then it was definitely like if you sat down and watched it and looked at it, it was like, oh no, this is some heavy, serious stuff, and not just with the imagery, but with the themes or the plot that was going on in it. So yeah, I thank you for diving deep into the Japanese animation side of the things, because I didn't know there were so many different ones. Because like growing up, I'm younger, so I grew up with Toonami, so I didn't.
Oh, yeah. Toonami was though. Like Toonami it was good. Like it was when with the little space, the astronaut dude.
Yeah,
there you go. I couldn't remember his name, but I used to watch Toonami too. But I love Toonami.
Yeah. So I was actually in the last episode, I was talking to Chuck. And he was telling me, because he's older than both of us, he was telling me that back in the day, you would have to go to Canal Street and get a bootleg VHS.
Oh, yeah.
That I never knew that was a thing. Because for me, growing up, it was like you come home after school, they got Toonami on, you're watching Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Gundam. So, like, I was like, whoa, okay.
You grew up privileged, bro.
I did. Yes, of course.
You want to know how I discovered Dragon Ball?
Tell me.
I was a young kid, and I was on my way to church one morning, and I had this TV on. Yes, church when I was little. Like, you got to keep in mind, my family originally is from the South. Like, I'm from New York, but my family is from South Carolina. So, we talk about hard Baptist, Southern. That's why I kind of gave that example. Oh, word?
Yeah. So we there. I know.
Yeah, exactly. so before church, and same thing before school. Like, I would watch Sailor Moon before I would go to school in the morning. It would be on early in the morning, so I catch that first episode, and they would also have Transformers Beast Wars.
Ooh, I remember them.
That, they had Dragon Ball came on one day. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
I just knew I loved the way it looked.
Yeah.
And how dramatic it was. And that was the first time I heard that end of episode music, that doom, 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 doom,
Yeah.
where the narrator is talking, and then you see the animation.
Find some food.
That, and there's
that little guitar riff.
I was like, what is this, right? And so every Sunday I'm trying to time myself to see if I could be on the same channel. Like, is it going to come back? And the very first episode I saw was Vegeta trying to catch up to Gohan and Krillin on Namek. When they were trying to reach the Elder Namek to get their power boost.
Yeah.
And Vegeta was fighting Zarbon and all these other people. So I got introduced to anime and Dragon. Well, I knew anime, but didn't know what it was when I saw certain things.
Yeah.
Because I had an older cousin whose room inspired me. He had anime everything. He went to the military, and then like me and him are really super tight now. He had no idea he had such a big influence on me. He had zero clue. But like when I'm sitting here and I'm watching these anime and I'm thinking about it, in the beginning, I got introduced through the television. But the only way for me to get access to these things on my own was to go to certain stores where they had like a small section that would have a VHS tape of something that you had to get. Like at the time when I first saw Dragon Ball, obviously I ain't going to Canal Street on my own. I'm
yeah.
ass kid. So what I ended up doing was in high school, I would spend time in the computer lab, and I would use the modem on random chats. I would find maybe a 10-second clip of Dragon Ball stuff, and I would download it onto a floppy disk. That's how old it is.
Jesus.
Listen. So, and floppy disks are only like 3 megs in size, right? And it might be 1.44 megs, something like that. It's mad small. But anyway, I would spend 50 minutes downloading to get a 10-second max clip. And it would blow mine because I saw Krillin in a Saiyan uniform, and I didn't know what was happening. And I was like, why is he wearing this outfit? Like, nobody, because the episodes we got here, they weren't translating and giving us stuff at the same time. So the only way to get it is to get a VHS that then dubbed it, because it wasn't popularized like that. When I got to college, there was a record store when I was in Philly. In the gallery, there was a record store on the first floor near the food court that had an anime section, and I started buying Dragon Ball anime VHSs, and I was able to see the full Frieza fight that way. And then after that,
all 48 hours of it.
Yeah, listen, they were fighting a full work week. Listen, it was strong. So I after that though, then I eventually got into the whole learning how to access things in certain ways.
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. Captain Jack Sparrow at your service.
Exactly.
Yeah, for me, it was the same thing, except I'd never just thought to like get a VHS or a floppy or nothing. I just kind of watched stuff on UPN and CBS and then eventually Cartoon Network. And then after that, I do remember one thing that like thinking back, I'm so pissed about. So you remember them old little Chinese stores, like the ones that would sell like toys and trinkets and stuff like that? Yeah. So I remember, I don't know how I came across these. I don't know if my dad got them for me, my aunt, somebody got these toys for me. They were basically Dragon Ball Z toys of stuff that didn't even air in the US yet. So we had GT Goku with the Super Saiyan 3 hair. I had adult Gohan with the shirt off, and a few other figurines. I brought them to school one day because me and my best friend, we was in the Dragon Ball. We would watch it at home, Toonami, whatever. So I brought it in. We was playing with it at lunch. I was showing him like, yo, look, check this out, blah, 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 blah. And we didn't know what it was. So we just guessed, oh, this is so-and-so when he gets older. This is so-and-so when he blah, blah, blah. Make it up any kind of story. And I'll never forget this. Here come Mr. Walker. I swear he was probably like 7 feet tall. He looked like a mix between Bernie Mac and what's his name? What's his dude? What's that comedian name? The heavyset comedian that lost weight.
You say he's heavyset and lost weight?
Yeah.
I know there's Nah,
He had
it
like
wasn't
he had the small head. You don't want to sound like that. He kind of had like that high pitched
Yeah,
voice.
I know he talking about.
Yeah. He looked like him. Yeah, he
Yeah.
looked like him. And he come over and he just snatch it. He just snatched all
Like,
the toys.
Bro, don't touch my toys, bro. You
He
want me to
snatched
go?
them all. Yo, and he never gave them back. And then years later, when I saw the actual episodes, I was like, yo, we saw the future and he just let it, like, he just took it from us. Yeah.
He never gave it back.
No. Mr.
You know
Walker
why?
never gave it back. Why? He kept it for himself?
He was at home playing with it.
Yeah.
He was at home playing with them. You kids don't know about Super Saiyan 3. It's me.
It's me, yeah. Here's another one that happened to me, and I'm still mad at this dude today. I don't know where he's at, but I hope his foot is gone. I don't know. That's mean. But in middle school, similar situation. I had a magazine that had like the history of Dragon Ball Z. This is before the internet was big. This is before Google was like the place to go. So it was a big ass magazine, Dragon Ball Z stuff, with like stuff that we've already seen. So middle school, by this time, I think we were in like maybe close to Android Cell Saga.
Okay.
So in this magazine, they were showing Boo Saga and beyond that. So we were freaking out like, oh my God, this is so cool. What is this? They were showing the names of like the inspirations of the characters, like, oh, Vegeta's named after this and this person's named after this. I let my friend at the time borrow it. He was like, let me borrow it. The next day, he said he was gonna bring it back. The next day he come to school, he says, guess what he say?
What?
My brother burnt it.
No. And
my kid brain was not, if I had the brain I had now back then, I would have been investigating, but my kid brain was just like, oh, okay.
There's literally no way, because I would have lost it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he's lying.
He definitely was. He wanted it. Yeah, he was jealous and he wanted it. It happens. You had been doing these amazing Afrofuturist, surrealistic portraits of, black people. Obviously, that's what Afrofuturist means. Was that always something that you were into, or was that something that came along after the years, or is that something that you had been wanting to do and just like never got around to it until like that point?
I always knew I wanted to draw. I was drawing since a kid, but I was like, I didn't know what trajectory it was going to take me on. Originally, I was like video game development, which is funny because my oldest son, literally the trajectory he's taken is exactly what I've taken, like everything. And it's wild to me because he has no idea, because I didn't tell him every step of my navigation. I tell him, things that might be pertinent to him at the time if he needs some information to properly navigate a situation. But I wanted to draw anything that looked like a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up happening was around maybe 2012-ish, I started to get heavy into Black representation more. Like, I was already into it, but in a different way, by providing access with different systems, etc. But I wanted to draw more of it. I started drawing whenever I used to draw when I was younger. The first thing I would draw, and they will never tell you to do this because it is absolutely counterintuitive to how you would draw something, I would always start with the eyes first. It is the weirdest thing, but I was always drawn to eyes, right?
Yeah.
And I always loved the whiteness, like the white superhero or supervillain eyes, like where there's no pupil, no iris. And I would always start drawing like that. And I was always big on the shape of the eyes. And what I eventually started doing was drawing just like heads of characters.
Mm-hmm.
And it started with like, I would draw like Thanos, I drew Sonic, Mega Man, Frieza. And I just kept going through a bunch of characters. And I was like, oh, these are fun, but I want to just draw something unique and something I'm interested in. And I was a part of an art collective called Intrinsic Nature.
Mm-hmm.
This was back when there was like Shadowness, Intrinsic Nature. I can't remember the other one. This was like 5 major art collectives that were like, had 40 to 50 artists under them that were producing content for these art releases. And one of the pieces, they asked you to submit a piece. and I submitted a piece, and for some reason I was just like focused on this, like it was like a sugar skull with like paint falling off of it, very colorful. If I still have it somewhere in the ether, I'd show you. But then for our first release, which ended up being the last release, because after I got in, we were only active again because it was release number 14. They were only active for maybe a year after that again. And then everybody's collective depthcore was another one. Everybody's collective dismantled. Like it was the weirdest thing. Nobody knows. Like the people who were running the sites just kind of like disappeared.
It was the white man.
Yeah, and listen, it was, but these weren't like Black specific collectives.
Right,
like,
right.
People from all over the world, just like younger. We were younger. So I created this piece called Gnosis, and it was a bust, almost a bust piece. It was just down to the neckline, and I still have that piece. I know where that piece is. And she had on like a Nefertiti hat, and this is when I was heavy into vector illustration. So I was drawing everything in vector. And I did that, and I loved it so much that I was like, I just want to continue to do pieces like this. And that's where it shifted into Afrofuturism, because when I was in high school and when I was younger, I used to draw lines on paper, just like outside of me regularly drawing stuff. I would draw geometric lines and shapes and patterns all over a piece of paper. I started to get heavy into liking cybernetics and robotics and things like that, and anything that looked like it was futuristic. So I started trying to incorporate that line work and little intricate shapes into the head pieces and busts that I was producing. And then eventually, I remember saying to Nate one day, I was like, it kind of sucks. Like, I don't really have my own style. Like I said to you, like, I can look at your stuff and just be like, oh, that's had. Absolutely. Like, you have your own unique style. Like I told you, I think I see certain things in your style, but that's how I know it's you.
Right.
Like, nobody could ever put something out there and say like, oh, this is original without me, and it looked like yours without me being like, nah, you had to have seen Hab's work.
Right.
He's literally the only person doing this.
Right.
So for me, I asked Nate one day, I was like, I don't really feel like I have my own style. She was like, are you out of your mind? And I was like, what? And she was like, nobody like is really doing this bust stuff like this that you're doing in the way that you're doing it. And eventually I just wanted to start doing black and white versions of it, and I stopped doing color. So it was just like a slow progression of me taking things that I used to love when I was younger, like drawing eyes and starting that way, and then incorporating geometric shapes and lines, and then just my love of representing Black people, and boom, here we are.
That's amazing. Now let me ask you, because you said you used to draw geometric shapes and you were obsessed with cybernetics. Were you aware of the cyberpunk genre at the time?
No, was not. Had no idea. And you know what's funny?
Yeah.
If I tell you that I always loved the cyberpunk look, I just didn't know that's what it was called.
Yeah.
And I always loved any old movie that showed like dystopian futures.
Yeah.
Like if it was like a worn down city where there was tech and things like that. I didn't know cyberpunk was actually a genre until I got the game.
Here's a fun fact. Cyberpunk as a genre, guess where it started?
No idea. Really?
So the first, yeah. So like the origin of it starts with a thing called Neuromancer. It was a book, and then I don't know the fine details of it, but years later there was another guy that came along and created the Cyberpunk 2077 series, which now is a video game and is a huge thing because of, video games are popular. But like we originated that. We created Cyberpunk.
I knew there were other, because I know there are a ton of punk genres.
Yeah.
I just didn't know where they originated from. I just know there's a lot of them. Like, but you telling me that now, I'm gonna end up going back and doing research.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna want to know all these historic details.
Yeah.
Stuff
When
like
I found that out, I was just like, yo, We are just the monolith for all creativity, man, at this point.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so you've done the cyberpunk Afrofuturist portraits, and that's how I found you. But then you took a break. Now let's settle here for a second, because I think this is a topic that is incredibly important, especially in the arts, especially as a Black person. And you and I kind of touched on this the other day when we spoke on the phone. Why did you take that break? And what were you doing to bring yourself back to this new state of mind that you have?
So this is a topic I feel like all artists know and some don't speak of. I was hit with a form of like creative depression, and it came from multiple angles because the main reason was social media. And I'll just be frank with you. Social media has a way of making you feel inadequate. It has a way of making you feel like you have to have a certain amount of followers, a certain amount of comments, a certain amount of likes, people DMing you, a certain amount of buzz just around your product and what you're creating in general. When before social media, before the advent of that, none of that was required. And we were all happy just creating what we were creating, like being engulfed in the things like just you talking about having your toys and things like that. Granted, you were younger, but it's still a certain organic, natural love that we have for our crafts, whatever craft we're involved in. So with me illustrating, I got to a point where I started out, like I said, making things because I loved the geometric shapes. I loved creating eyes and then combining that together to make a face and a bust that had all of these elements and then something that represented us as a people. But what ended up happening was it became less love and more work. It was like a task now. So instead of me creating it because, oh, I'm inspired to do this, I'm like, oh, I got to create something because I haven't posted today. I have to create something because if I don't, the algorithm is going to forget I exist. Nobody's going to see my product, and then I won't make any money. Then because it's money driven at the same time, because we all need money to survive, I'm sitting here and I'm stressed. And I'm just like, the love for it is gone. And I'm like, I'm just doing it to do it. And granted, people still like what it is I'm doing, but I don't like it because I'm not happy with what I'm producing. I'm not happy with how it makes me feel. So I had to take a step away from it because it was disingenuous. And I didn't want to lose the love that I had remaining for it, because I felt like if I ever got to a point where so much of it stressed me out, I would never touch it again. And so I found myself getting back into photography. Photography was something that I had. Photography came along around the same time as illustration, right? So just the quick backstory. My mom took me and my cousins into the dining room one day, and she pulled out a piece of line paper and just started drawing us. And I was like, what the hell is this wizardry? I was like 4 years old. And I was like, well, what is this? And that was how I first got introduced to drawing. Then because she did that, I was already into, cartoons. So I'm like, can I create these on my own? And then I got into computers and I was like, can I create them on my own on a computer? So my love evolved from that. But at the same time, she also had an SLR camera that she used to take pictures of me all the time. And I couldn't touch it because it was expensive. But as a young kid, you want to see. So I was always mentally obsessed with it. So as I grew up, I ended up getting jobs that were in electronic departments around. I worked at Sears on commission in the electronics department. I worked at Circuit City on commission in the electronics department. I learned how to build computers and stuff like that. But I started working at Circuit City around the time that digital cameras were first being released as a commercial product that people could actually purchase that was affordable. Because originally they were ridiculous and nobody knew what the hell they did and their quality was crap. Mm-hmm. And when that happened, I started to really get into photography. Now, this is around 2003 is when that started. I then eventually decided, well, when we do, remember I said to Nay, I was like, let's do Fifth Gear Multimedia, like this company. And it offered design and other services. And I was prepping to put photography in. as a service. But Nay wanted to also do photography because she was already doing retouching. And I had a class in college, so she was learning how to shoot at the same time that I was. And I told her, I was like, look, I don't want to compete with you. So I'll just rock out and still do my design thing and you do photography. And she took that and ran with it. And I would just help her on shoots. I was never shooting myself. But then I knew how to, I just never did. And then during COVID, I got frustrated and I was like, I want to pick back up my photography. And I started shooting again. And then I realized how inspiring it was. And similar to how I can conceptualize things for my illustrations, that I can conceptualize something for a shoot. I get to control the posing, the look, the makeup, the lighting, the perspective, all of these things that would come into illustration work. I got to do that with a camera. And it was a faster gratification because you know how long it can take to create a piece. They don't drop instantly like customers might think they do, but they don't always just come like that. Like they're not that quick. We spend time making sure that if we're filling it, like it's not escaping the line and filling the rest of the painting or the piece. Like we're making sure that all the lines are connected, or there's a certain type of styling that we're doing. We're coloring it in properly, like shading and lighting is all coming from the same direction, or if there's dual tones and things like that. Like there's so much that goes into it. So this was more of an instant gratification for me that reinvigorated me in how I felt about just creativity. And right when I was at the verge of like, I'm going to give up on art in terms of illustration, Black Boy Art Show happened. And I heard about it because my friend Janelle Naomi, shout out to Janelle, was like, hey, you know, whenever she sees something, if she thinks it's applicable, she's like, hey, take a look at this. And she was like, so there's this show, you know, see if you could get into it. So I was like, okay, you know, what could it hurt? So I put down, you know, the application fee, which is like $15. And then I think it's like $190 to vend. And they add that to the application fee or whatever. So you pay for it. Essentially, they put a hold on your card and then they're like, you'll hear back within 48 hours. And I was like, if I do this, it'll be like the last art show I do. I'll just call it that and just call it a day. But what ended up happening was I didn't hear from them. And maybe a month and a half, 2 months went by. And then my card got charged. And I was like, what the hell is that? And I'm looking and I'm like, what the hell just charged me like $200? I know I didn't purchase anything. And I'm looking, I didn't know what the name was. And
that'd be the worst moment too. You'd be looking like, what the? Who?
Like, what is this?
Yeah.
Who took my identity?
Right.
But then, so it ended up being Black Boy Art Show. And I told Nay and I was like, you know, you get 2 free tickets where people can join you. So I was like, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to do this. And I already have art that I've had in there. I'm just going to, you know, take that out there and I'll sell it. And the love that, because first my stuff didn't look like anybody else's.
Right.
And the love that I got was ridiculous to the point where I was selling things and some of the people were like, that's it? That's how much it is? Sure, it's not more? And I made, I think, the most that day vending than I ever did whenever I vended my art at any other event. And I connected with so many people. And the benefit is everybody who comes in there is coming in there to specifically see and buy art. It's not like they're coming into a show where they might want to buy it. Like they're literally, everybody's mentality was, I want to get something. So it made it that much easier to sell things. And then just the amount of praise and connections I was able to make, it was great. And then you find out that there's so many other Black men that are experiencing the same thing you are. Because I met another brother that was there and he was just like, you know, I never thought that people would actually want this art like this. And they were like gobbling it up. So my friend Coco, like my little sis, was like, like Nate always is like, cut it out. Keep illustrating. Like she's very blunt. She's like, you know better. Anyway, like we're gonna keep doing this. I understand how you feel right now, but you're too talented not to do X, Y, and Z. Coco saw it and was just like, I don't think you should stop this. Like it's just
Why you sound like that?
He talks. And you hear Coco when she gets into a serious mode and she's
Uh-huh.
trying to so and soft. She's like, I really don't think you should do such and such. And that's what she said to me. She was like, you really got to keep doing this, bro, because it's really beautiful and you can't stop that. And so everything culminated into me thinking about the inspiration and connection I've had with my kids with art, and then my mom and just Nay, and just in general the love that it brought me. I was like, okay, but I'll just do it on my own time now. I won't feed into the social media machine, and I'll just do it myself. And it's been happier for me since I've done that.
I want to, before I get into the next statement I got to make, I want to give you your flowers here, because I really believe that break did really well for you. Not saying that your work before then wasn't good, but the fact that you had that time to rest, and then you had that community. That's the important part too. You had the community with you. Like when I saw you posting on Threads, I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, that's Will? I was like, God, these photos is crazy. When I saw like the whole like thing, I was like, wow, man. Like I've never seen anything like this before. Like the colors, the fashion, everything. Like it just looked so fucking good, man. And I just wanted to like just, you know, give you this real quick. For real.
I appreciate you having.
Yeah, nah, for real. 'Cause we have to do that for each other. Like you were just saying, it's like a lot of black men going through this. And I feel like a lot of the times we're just kind of on our own because, like you said, you know, it's like we got to feed that machine. We're not thinking about community and collaboration because we're just so steady on like, all right, I need to find a way to make money with this. Let me just post. Oh my God, there's another thing I got to get on. I got to get on this platform, post. So it's just like, it's nice to be around people who are able to sit with you, slow down, and have, you know, conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely correct. And just in reverse, I want to give you your flowers because I think, and I say this because you have a very unique style and it's very clean.
Thank you.
I pay attention to everything. Like if you look at my work, like when I illustrate, like I'm big on like line work, right?
Yeah.
Like, so like I go into people's artwork and I'll zoom in and I look at it. Like I love looking at the textures in your artwork, and I don't know if people actually do that, but if you don't, you should go into his artwork, you should zoom in and then look at all of the detail that he's actually putting into his artwork. That does not happen overnight.
Thank you.
I might tell Hab, and I'm talking to you guys right now, I'm gonna pretend like he's not even there. So I'll tell Hab on occasion, I'll be like, your style reminds me of a mix of like Rugrats and Real Monsters. And if you were a Nick kid, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. However, he took that styling that I would say it looks like, and he put a quality spin on it because he really does really, really good work with his art. You just have to zoom in, look at it, and say to yourself, how long is he sitting here creating these pieces, because they really do look good.
Thank you.
He's been consistent with it, and if anything, it's gotten better with each piece that you've done. Like I love they clone Tyrone piece.
Thank you.
You guys, if you have not seen it, check that out. Because do you have prints of that?
No, I don't. I have a rule against selling fan art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I feel you. if you don't want to do it, then don't do it.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna say this, harass him and bully him and make him sell these pieces, because he has gems that he's created that literally would go insane. Like people would love to have this artwork, but he's holding it hostage because he has a personal view that I'm not going to tell him to shift away from. I want you to tell him to shift away from it. That's why I'm imploring you right now to harass Hab and have him release some of this beautiful art that he is holding.
He gonna get y'all blocked. Don't do it.
But no. Just to show him the love. Like he really, really is. Outside of just being a great artist, he's a dope individual, a dope human being, and he's very much so about the culture of art. He's also about community, because think about him bringing us together and having these talks. Like these are huge. Like most people aren't doing this. but he creates a platform that he allows us to actually sit, talk, and you get to know the real us, not the social media facade or the thing you might have seen where you cross our path one time. You get to actually see us in a comfortable setting talking, and we wouldn't be this comfortable if he wasn't good at what he does. So I want to give him props for what he's doing.
I appreciate that
he's providing and the artwork he's creating. I hope he does not change ever. If anything, I hope his pockets get fat and he loans me a couple of dollars.
Hey, I'm putting that on you too. Your pockets get fat. We both our pockets get fat. Yeah, let's do it. But I do appreciate that for real, because like, again, it's just rough, you know, and speaking on the social media aspect of it, it does drain you, because everybody's trying to feed whatever particular platform's algorithm is going through that day, because it's very finicky. What's the word I'm looking for? Finicky.
Fickle, finicky.
Yeah. It's a fusion, like Dragon Ball Z. But it's like when you post something, you work on it for such a long time, whether it's visual arts or even a dance performance art, and then it gets like 0 views or 0 likes or something like that. It can be disheartening. It can be. Let's be honest. We're not there to not have engagement and communication. So like I definitely feel that it's a good idea to break away, like how you took your break, and I'm kind of doing like a little diet myself, because it's so negative.
I like that. Put it a diet,
Yeah.
bro. Like, get me started. I'm about to believe it. Like, yo, you ain't posting nothing in a while. Yeah, I'm on a diet. Like,
yeah, it's important, man, because like you get lost in the sauce, and it's like then you start making stuff that's not even good anymore, or you get like grumpy and you start complaining to people or whatever. Because I've been that exact thing, you know, the last few months. It's just been like, Urgh! So like, everybody, take breaks when you can. You don't have to be on every platform. Just pick. Will told me, just pick 1 or 2. You know what I'm saying, and rock with that, and engage with those people that you enjoy. I'm taking your pointers that you told me, and and I think that can create a better ecosystem for us all. Honestly,
people think because we're creative and we create art that 9 times out of 10 we're happy all the time. They see us smiling. They don't necessarily realize that there are darker sides that come along with that. Like, and I've known a few friends who, you know, they go through extremes, and some of them aren't here anymore. And to avoid that, we always got to make sure we're doing what's best for us mentally and helping us be the best version of ourselves that we can be, because we're going to be the only ones who can help us as much as we can. Like, somebody else can offer a hand, but we have to be willing to take that step, and it has to matter more to us than it does to them in order for it to be effective.
Yo, what's good? This video was sponsored by my Patreon members over on patreon.com/habtunes. Patreon is an incredible platform that enables me to create my art and YouTube content full time. Patreon is also a space that allows me to connect with you, the fans, viewers, and members on a deeper level. As a Patreon member, you'll receive early access to new projects, exclusive patron-only content and merch, and many other incredible perks, such as your name being featured in a video. I post art and content on the Habtunes Patreon quite frequently, and there's always something new around the corner. Interested? You can join today and support the continued growth of the Habtunes brand. Link in the description below.
yo, you still here? Well, welcome back. This is the Art Block, but you got all the way from Best I Have with the man, the myth, the legend, Will Focus. Yo, I'm mad you really just turned to the camera like that. Oh,
come on, I gotta go with it.
Yo, that is crazy. Let me tell you, I was really excited when HBO was like, when Max was like, yo, we just put all the Evil Dead movies on, including the new one. I was like, bet. I watched that new one. I loved it. It was fantastic. It felt like the old school joint, obviously, but with a modern twist, and it felt amazing. That's probably like the simplest way to explain it, but like it was really good.
I haven't seen it, and I feel bad now.
Go watch it.
Oh, I will. I have Shudder. I don't know if you have Shudder, but
I've heard of it.
Shudder, it's like the Netflix of horror stuff.
Yeah.
I've had it for maybe 3 years now, but I love using Shudder if like I'm looking to find some new horror stuff or just visit some old stuff. It's been a while though since I've watched anything from the Evil Dead franchise, but I believe you. If you're saying it's good, I believe you. I don't even know if they consider that. I was gonna say, is Don't Clone Tyrone They Clone Tyrone a horror movie?
For us, it is, yeah.
That part.
Not you come on here talking about I love horror movies. They ain't got the answer for me.
So I went to see The Blackening.
How was that? Was it good?
It's a slow burn at first. It does get better.
Okay.
But it's definitely a slow burn in the beginning. I was just like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
And why am I not interested? But
Damn.
because it's a comedy, it's like you got to wait for it to get funny a little bit. But
Right.
it definitely did get funny and realistic at a point. And I was like, oh, I can see, where they're going with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it towards the end because they were
Damn.
doing things that I was just like, Black people would never do this. And this isn't making sense to me right now. So I'm not really feeling this. But
wasn't that the point of the movie, like the deconstruction of like Black tropes?
Well, yes, but it was like reconstruction of tropes that would never ever be applied to Black people. Like so okay, like I get that there are Black tropes and we're not a monolith, but there are certain things that are synonymous. Like if we see one person running 99,000 times out of 99,001, we're all gonna run. Like
yeah.
But there were things that they were doing that it was like, oh, they're about to do something stupid, but they didn't. I'll tell you my favorite horror film.
Yeah, go for it.
I absolutely love It Follows. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
It sounds familiar. I've never seen it.
It Follows is. Should I tell about what it is? I don't. Am I ruining anything? I mean, it's an older movie, not older as in like old, but older in the sense like you could have seen it like at least the smooth like 5.
Go for it.
All right. So without revealing what happens, essentially there is an entity that follows people around. Now, this entity does not stop. We don't know if you can kill it, but we know it's passed to the next person through sex. Think of yourself as being haunted by something.
Yeah.
And the only way to get rid of it is to have sex with somebody and give it to that person.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
So that's not the bad part. The reason why this is such a good movie for me is the constant thought of impending doom. So this spirit thing, right?
Yeah.
Literally, the name of the movie is because it follows you.
Right.
And if it catches you, it's going to kill you. But it doesn't run. It walks. And it can come in the form of anything that's familiar to you.
Like a dog?
Or not familiar. It's invisible to everybody else. Only you can see it. And it will come to you. Oh, I know who this guy is.
Who?
Who's drawing down there, buddy?
I don't know.
What's that?
I don't know who this is.
Where's you drawing down there? Look at you. You done got a whole drawing already. I'm over here just doing nonsense. Look at this.
You are making a beautiful side profile of a Black woman that has amazing eyebrows and big hair, and we love it.
Look at you. You know what? Just for you.
Look at that.
I'm gonna name her Hab.
Oh, okay.
So in the spirit follows you, and when it catches you, it kills you.
Yeah.
Because it is supernaturally strong, and it walks. And it does not stop. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't do any of that. It will come inside your house. It will crawl through a window, whatever it does, but it just walks at a slow pace. So no matter where you go, it can walk underwater, doesn't fly. It just keeps walking, but it will walk and it will get to you. And so it does this throughout the entirety of the whole movie.
Sounds like a bill collector.
Now, how you realize that this happens is it catches one of the people. In the very beginning, but you don't know what happened to her. You just see her mangled. Like it's not like, oh, it just you get scared to death. No, this thing mangles your body. So throughout the whole movie, they're trying to keep a lookout because this thing could come back. Now, when they have sex with somebody else, they won't see it again. But if they see something awkward, they know the last person they had sex with got killed by it, and it's back for them.
Oh wow.
So it just goes in an order. It's like it has a memory of who's next,
Yeah.
and it keeps following them throughout the whole movie like that. It's a really good movie.
That almost sounds like this other movie I saw probably like 2 months ago called Smile. It's a similar concept. So let's say you're somewhere and you see something crazy happen, somebody freaking out, you look at them, and then it latches on to you, and then you start freaking out, and it passes on to the next person and keeps going and going. I don't even remember how the movie ended, but I enjoyed it because it was just so existentially creepy. There was no like thing that was able to stop it. Like you can't fight it. It's not a physical form. It's just an entity, a spirit that exists that latches onto you. That's the kind of stuff that freaks me out. It's not the gory stuff. It's not the violent stuff. It's the stuff that's like mental.
That part. How'd you like Lovecraft Country when that came out?
I think I enjoyed it when it was an initial run, but like looking back at it and thinking about it, it's kind of like, you know.
You're like, could have been better.
Yeah. Like I like that it definitely went to places that I didn't expect, like the whole dimensional traveling thing with Hippolyta and all of that. But like, I don't know. I felt like there could have been more to it. I still would recommend it to people, but it's just, I don't know. Not too memorable for me. What about you though?
I was gonna say I loved it in the moment.
Yeah.
Not that I don't love it now. It's just I'm one of those people, like I'll watch something. It's got to be like hyper good for me to watch it multiple times.
Yeah.
You know? So looking at it, I was just like, oh, this is cool. I enjoyed the storyline and where everybody's respective storylines were going, and plots that they tied in with current events and things like that have happened. Not current events, but past.
No, they still current.
So them tying it in with stuff like that was able to, appease a certain side of me, and I like that. But I'd give it a good rating overall. I was curious as to whether or not they're gonna, I know they're not continuing that, but if they'll find a way to do something else. Now, what's your favorite horror film?
I don't know if I have a favorite horror film, but my favorite film franchise is Pirates of the Caribbean, actually.
That's funny that you said the Jack Sparrow reference earlier.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hilarious.
It's something about it that is just so fun to me. It's a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously.
Now that's very true. It's very, very tongue in cheek, but I like it though.
Yeah.
I think he played that character, Jack Sparrow.
He is that character.
Johnny Depp is I don't see him normally without seeing Jack Sparrow. Honestly.
Yeah.
And he's played a million roles, but that to me, that's him. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just like Toby is Spider-Man.
Exactly. But what would you do if, let's say, he went and was no longer doing that role? It almost happened. Do you feel like you could have still watched it?
Like if it wasn't him as Jack?
Yeah, if it wasn't him as Jack.
Well, they said that they was going to do a reboot with Margot Robbie, and I was like, I'm down. I mean, and then in the last movie that came out, he really wasn't in it. It was it was Jack Sparrow, but it wasn't really Johnny Depp.
Yeah,
playing that role. It was more focused on the new kids, and I like that one because it was kind of recapturing the first movie in a sense, with a more emotional toll because you had all the history of these characters in it.
True.
Yeah.
Very true.
You could probably consider this horror. It was really good. The Menu.
Oh yes.
The Menu
I
was
like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that because I was like exactly how is this gonna be horror? But then I knew there had to be an element, and I kind of saw it coming, but I was happy they did it the way they did with that one chef.
Yeah.
Where he was he thinks he wants to be such and such, but he will never be yada yada yada.
Yeah.
Isn't that right? He was like, yes, chef.
Yes,
and then
chef.
when he did it, I was like, what? I was like, there's no way. And everybody starts freaking out.
Oh, I'm bugging. No, I do have favorite horror movies. Anything by A24, honestly.
A24 is amazing. Don't they have what's this? The one with the hand? Isn't that one of theirs?
The one with the hand?
You haven't seen it? It's I think it's a movie where there's this. They find this hand, and I think they're able to either speak to spirits or do something with the hand, but you gotta like put it back before a certain time period, or else the spirit.
Oh
like,
no, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's
That's coming out
it
this year.
hasn't- oh yeah, it's coming out this year. It hasn't been released yet, but it's definitely coming out.
That's crazy. I gotta catch up because I want to watch that trilogy they did with that girl, that white girl, Mia Goth. That, but A24 always like blows me out of the water, even for their stuff that's not even horror based.
They're just really good in general. Like they understand the assignment. That's good. Like, and most people, I feel like they don't know the actual like good horror content, but I absolutely love the stuff that they put out.
You know what I really hated though, and I was just annoyed, and I should have known better. That what's it called? Yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They made a new one with the kids, like these young kids, and I'm just like, this movie is stupid. Like, y'all should have just left. There was nothing stopping y'all from leaving this town. Why are y'all still in this town? Why are you so concerned about having your youth party here or whatever they would do? It was about, they kind of had this whole thing about gentrification. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but like, nah.
That's the one. Wait. Is that the one where they take the bus?
Yes.
Out there and
Yes.
it's like all college kids or whatever. Oh my god!
It was horrible. It was bad. I was so angry at the end.
I was just angry at the stupidity. That's what makes me mad at these movies. Like, if I see a level of stupidity that is absolutely unheard of in the realm of common sense, it's going to make me angry.
Yeah.
And what they did absolutely made me angry.
I like the pose.
Oh, why? Thank you. That's the I got to go to the bathroom, but I'm charging up pose.
Yeah. Vegeta did that a lot.
He does.
Yeah. Speaking of stupidness, I think Dragon Ball needs to end. I think it's about time. They had a good run. You know, they've been around for multiple generations. Let's just, everybody dies, go home.
Not going to happen.
Of course not. It's making them too much money.
There's that. But you know what? You know what's funny, and most people don't know this?
What?
Vegeta was never supposed to come back.
A lot of people were supposed to come back.
No, but Akira Toriyama actually hated his character.
Oh.
And he killed him on purpose. But people loved him so much for who he was, he wrote him back in.
That's crazy.
Fans were like pushing for it. But like when he died, when Frieza killed him, that was supposed to be it. He was never
stupid monkey.
Yep, little racist Frieza.
I miss that voice. I think that lady passed away.
I know Bulma's voice actor passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah, sad thing.
Yeah, I do like the new Frieza voice, the little like pompous British voice, like, hello, monkeys. Goku, Broly, look, niggas wildin'. You ever seen that meme?
Yes. Because they're using I think it's from when he killed Broly's pop.
Yeah.
And he's pointing back. And he's like, look. That's hilarious.
But no, I really feel that like they're just running this into the ground because it's just too much. They're now doing a multiverse. Like they have a multiverse of Dragon Ball. Like there's different Gokus, there's different Vegetas, there's time travel.
Dragon Ball heroes, yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it was? Here's what happened. What they did was they played on that because and I don't know how much you actually watch Dragon Ball, if you watched it recently.
Yeah.
But after the whole Goku Black saga with Zamasu, we realized that when Trunks came back, future Trunks, when he came back to warn them of the androids, he broke off the main timeline and caused deviance in the timeline. And therefore, that's where all these variations have come from.
They was watching the MCU. Don't give them too much credit. They was just like, we want that MCU money, guys.
Could be.
Want to sell some toys.
Could be. I wouldn't put it past them or anybody for that matter.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them.
Have you watched Cannon Busters?
I try to forget it. Honestly, like I love that this is a black Japanese animated series, but it did not do it for me.
And I asked because it definitely got a lot of like feedback, right? So
yeah,
hearing what other people think about these things is what's interesting to me. Like what do you feel would have made it better?
It's been so long, I don't even barely remember all the plot. I remember the girl was a robot, I think, right? And she was like the key to something.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't think we ever got to see because obviously they never brought that back.
Yeah. I really can't remember. I remember this one scene they went to like an old Western town or something like that. And that annoyed me because there was like a lot of stupidness happening with the sheriff, and yeah, it just, I don't know, it didn't grab me because I felt that they were just like, okay, you want a black cartoon, here's a black cartoon, and without any forethought. Like I feel like the characters felt really flat and one note, right? I didn't really care about them.
I agree. I don't disagree at all, honestly. Like I agree with you 100%. Look at this level of creativity you got going on over there.
Yo, I don't know what's going on. I really don't.
Whatever's happening is way better than what I'm doing.
Nah, see, this is why we gotta stop doing this. We gotta stop doing this to ourselves. Artists, we gotta, when we are making stuff, just say it's cool.
It's cool. I feel like not as good as Halves. It's cool.
Oh my god. Oh my god. We gonna fight. When I see you on the 5th, we gonna fight.
Oh man.
Did you ever animate one of your portraits?
I used the program to just make like the head and stuff move and the mouth.
Oh, got you.
I've never like actually like on an official capacity pulled any animation to it.
When you get some more free time, you should try it. Like I've been doing it for like the last like year or so in Photoshop, and it's really fun. Yeah.
And I was like, is this animated?
Yeah.
I was like, when the hell did Halves start doing this?
Yeah. It's funny because like I didn't even know you can animate in Photoshop itself until I was watching this guy on YouTube named Umami. He did this really dope series called Interface, and it won like awards at the Canadian Film Festival, and he's got a huge fan base, let's put it that way. And he did a live stream where he was showing people the process, and I was like, oh shoot, you could do this in Photoshop? And I was like, let me try that out. And ever since then, I've been like practicing here and there and just like trying to do more and more with it. Ooh, that's Yogi. Hey there, boo boo.
I don't know what this is.
Oh no, Yogi.
Not oh no, Yogi. All right, yo. You know what? That's another thing. I used to love doing impersonations.
Yeah. I could tell when we did the little recording the other Saturday.
But then you started that. That was you.
But you carried it on. You carried the torch.
I have to play the part.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, I used to. You know who makes me do that a lot?
Who?
And he's a jerk for this. My son. He does.
Props to him
all the time. No, he's horrible. He's a horrible individual. I tell him all the time. He's very, very rude and he's abrasive. And yet, and still, I love him though he is as abrasive as he is. Oh man, but I found that doing those accents were just fun in general.
Yeah.
So I loved making fake accents or trying to replicate one. But I always felt like British accents were super hard, depending upon where they came from specifically. Yeah. They're very hard to emulate. Certain ones. There are some who they have a chop about internet. I don't know how to really manipulate my.
I know which one you're doing. Yeah.
It's like, it's almost like as if you were somebody who was here with a really bad Southern drawl. Yeah, it's like being there with that, and it like if they talk fast, you don't understand a word they're saying. Yeah, but it's amazing. Like it's super. You know you're good if you're able to mimic that. I know you probably got it down.
Yo, is that Mr. Meeseeks from Rick and Morty?
I don't know
who Mr. Meeseeks, look at me. Oh man, yeah. Everybody hated me when I was on my Rick and Morty phase.
Rick, did you play the game?
High on Life.
Yeah,
I didn't like it. I really wanted to love it, but it's not good. It's not good.
I saw a couple of people stream it, but I've never actually, myself played it. Yeah. So I'm like living vicariously through other people who've actually played it. It looked like they were enjoying it, so I just assumed it was such. Weren't you playing? You were playing it for a while on stream. Jesus, what was the game? It's
Mass Effect.
No.
Cyberpunk.
It's like no. It was it's almost like a Dark Souls type game. It was like
Dark Souls type game.
It looks like a Dark Souls type game. It looks like a Neverwin, a Morrowind type game. It was like
Skyrim?
a Skyrim.
The
That's
Elder
what it was.
Scrolls, yeah.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls. Thank you. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
why
yeah.
is the game like leaving me right now? You were playing that for a minute, and you know what? It was giving me PTSD when you were playing it back then.
Really?
It's such a long game. Like if you're one of those people who likes to like get everything, and I'm one
Yeah.
of those 100%er people.
Oh no.
And so I get stuck trying to do everything. And games like that, I'll be in a loop forever.
Yeah.
And it just gets so annoying. So when I saw you, I was like, oh my God, this guy is playing my PTSD right now.
Oh God. Yeah, man, that's my like comfort game. I've been playing that since the first day it came out. And it's something about it because people still play it to this day. There's something about it that's like very magical and intrinsic to just like old gaming. Like that game came out right before everything kind of got like full of capitalist garbage,
Very true.
What's your comfort game besides Paladins?
Cyberpunk is a comfort game for me.
Cyberpunk?
I still play that. Now I'm still waiting for the update that's gonna have Idris Elba in it to come
That's
out.
gonna be crazy. What was your favorite ending?
Actually, the funny thing is I only played it through as one character. Like so I only played it through as a street kid.
Yeah.
I didn't do the Corpo and I didn't do the Badlands or the Wasteland. I think it's Badlands.
Yeah. Nomad.
Nomads. I didn't do the Nomad. But I said after I do this one, because I beat the game, then I went back in from a save point to do something else because I got the Sand Devastation and I'm like, I gotta upgrade so I can put this in her back and then ride around just like destroying people. But I definitely want to play back and go through each additional storyline directly. Yeah, because it's a good game. Now that the bugs are out of the way.
Yeah, I got it after they did the first big update.
If you were there when it first released, you would have had a heart attack. Like I was good because I had a fast PC, so I could dumb down the settings. But anybody who had a console,
it was a wrap. They couldn't even play it. They had to give refunds to PS4. Everybody that bought it on PS4 had to get refunds.
And then they took it off. They were like, "Nah, I can't have it out here for this anymore." But you could get it for PS5.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just horrible.
And this is what happens when there's time crunches on your developers. You don't give them right amount of pay and enough time. Because that game did launch like a big pile of dog doo-doo.
It did.
It really did.
It did. Absolutely.
And like no game is exempt from bugs. Like every game has some sort of bug. But like this was the stuff I was seeing was insane.
Yeah. Like the bugs were bad.
Yeah.
But when they did do their first like major update, it was cool. And I appreciated it because it made it playable for so many people. And even for me, I was able to finally use my ray tracing properly without it being deathly slow.
So would you say you're really big into graphics more?
It used to be graphics. Like you got to keep in mind, I was a kid who grew up during the Nintendo Sega battle era.
Yeah.
Like I had an Atari. I had I had a Sega before it became Genesis. Like I had a Sega Master System, and all my cousins had Nintendo, so I hated Mario. And I got Genesis, and Sonic came out, and I just got attached to him. Like, and so as a result,
I see him right there.
and it made me realize like how attached I was to Sega as a brand. And then Dreamcast came out, and I was like in love. But then shortly after Dreamcast came out, PlayStation 2 and Xbox and GameCube came out, and they literally destroyed Sega's hopes and dreams of remaining in the console industry. And that's when they stopped making consoles, was after that release.
Rest in peace,
it was a holiday
Dreamcast.
release. Yeah, and it completely did them dirty. But like they had great games like Power Stone.
Yeah, and you know the crazy thing is that the Dreamcast literally did what a lot of the consoles do now, which is crazy.
Did. I got introduced to Phantasy Star Online through Dreamcast. I was playing Power Stone through Dreamcast, but my favorite fighting game of all time. I got introduced in the arcade, but I started playing
Soul Calibur. Yeah, I had a feeling. I liked it because, unlike its contemporary Street Fighter, you had that whole stage to move around. It was 360 movement.
Mm-hmm. I still love it. I have it on the computer actually.
Nice.
And I have Soul Calibur 6 on here, even though it's older, but it's still like, whoo. That game, and I was like competition good in that game.
Oh shoot!
Like that was how much I played that game when it first came out, and people knew. Like even when it went to, because the next system I got after Dreamcast was the Xbox.
Right.
Even though I had a PlayStation, because PlayStation, in my eyes, effectively killed Dreamcast, I had a hate relationship, hate relationship for Sony after that, and I immediately just stuck with Xbox. And then when I got in college and I learned how to build PCs for myself, I was like, oh, I'm a PC gamer from now on. Like, what are we talking about? So that's where I've been. But yeah, Soul Calibur. Ooh, I'll tell you how good I was.
Okay.
I mastered every character in that game. I knew how to play. It didn't matter who it was, small or large character. It could have been Astaroth. It could have been Taki.
So you basically edge master in real life.
I was. I knew how to play everybody like a pro. And I knew timing and everything. And it was so bad that I used to play people with one hand.
What?
And beat them in the game. Like when I was in college, like when it first was like dropping, I'll never forget. This is the funniest thing. So when you get to college, sometimes like if you're going away, start hanging with people that you may not have normally hung with. So some of the guys that I was cool with knew some like white frat boys, and so they would go to like their parties or whatever. And I remember them going to their party one day, and they had a Dreamcast, and they had Soul Calibur, and I was like, oh. So I just sat there, right? They were playing, and I just sat, and I was like, let me see how they're rotating out. So they rotated out, and they let me get on the sticks. Nobody said anything. They were like, yeah, come on. So I get on, and I started fucking decimating everybody in that room. It was like reparation.
Oh, my God.
I was decimating everybody. It was funny because what happened was, it wasn't like, that, obviously. Like, it was all cool. Like, the energy was great. But this is how I knew I was good. I wasn't paying attention, but apparently one of my friends, they were in the party itself and in the hallway, and they got drunk. I've never drank or smoked, so I always just chill in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So one of them punches a hole in the damn frat wall. Like,
because you beat them?
No. This is just one of the people I came with. They were angry at something. I don't know what happened. They punched a hole in the wall. So they were all getting the boot. And they were like, yeah, you're home. The dude that came with you did X, Y, and Z. And I was like, oh, word? And they were like, but you can stay. Like, you're good. You don't have to leave. But when I turned around, there were like 20 white people sitting behind me just watching me play in amazement. And I didn't even realize it because I was playing people with one hand, doing my normal thing. Because originally there were only like 3 or 4 of us in the room. When I turned around, I had an entire crowd, and they were so fucking amazed at how nice I was at this game.
That's crazy.
And but I was like, nah, I'm gonna dip. But they were like, yo, you want to come back anytime? Just like, come back. But that was the last time I went there.
They were like, teach us your ways.
Yeah, nah, I already know how that happened.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, I could never be that nice, dude. One hand, that's wild. You still can do that? Can you still do that?
Not currently. You know why? Because I think people started to realize how much how important learning timing was in a game. Like back then, I used to play by sound too. Like I could tell by how you were running or the noise that the character made what move you were about to do.
You damn Jedi.
So that was how I could play with one hand. Like I knew what was about to happen because there are certain sound cues or delays, which is when back then I didn't know, but people read frames. Like they know like there's a, 1 or 2 frames where, you're vulnerable, blah, blah, blah. I was doing that stuff, but not knowing what the hell it was, just because I was like naturally like playing it a certain way. And then, I ended up getting really, really good at it. And then I really, really fell off because I had really, really grown man responsibilities because I had kids. They came right after that beautiful year of me playing. And oddly enough, for 10 years, roughly 10 years, I did not draw a single thing.
Wow.
After the kids were born.
10 years.
I just didn't think I had time for it. And I
not even like a quick doodle in the sketchbook, nothing? Wow.
Nothing. All I did was build PCs, learn how to code, work, and go to school. And I literally never picked up a pencil and paper.
How did that make you feel?
It was bad. Oh, horrible. It felt like the most unnatural thing ever.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell am I doing?
Wow.
I eventually got over it.
Yeah. I feel like that Oprah meme. She leans over like,
Mm-hmm.
Because like 10 years, that's a really long time. Was it hard for you to get back into it?
No. When I started again, I was rusty as hell, but I got inspired by vector artwork. So seeing illustration in vector and knowing that it could be scaled to any size was like super appealing to me. So I just like rushed back in, and I was happy with how things went. But it was difficult only because I didn't necessarily have a style that I gravitated towards.
Yeah.
So figuring that out was probably like the most crucial part. And then I didn't want to showcase my work because I was afraid of criticism. I didn't want people telling me certain things. So a lot of the things I do, like I refuse to sketch seriously in front of people because I've always felt like, people are going to judge me. And I've never ever done it in a serious manner in front of people. Like I'll sketch like the most random things and call it a day for fear of judgment. I've always been like that. I let my judgment get the better of me when I'm creating stuff.
I think that's all of us, man, because I used to be the same way where it was just like, oh, I'm never going to live stream and draw, or I'm never going to like draw in front of a real person because like that's what if I choke? You know how you have like some rappers that are good in the studio, but when they do a freestyle, it's like, oh, what's wrong with him? Yeah, I definitely get that.
Yeah, I hated it when people would look over your shoulder.
Yeah,
you're doing something. So I used to keep a sketch pad with me, and I would be on a train and I'd be drawing, and then I realized, and I'm drawing, I'm like in my own world, and then I realized somebody's watching me, and I'm like, shit. And then I closed the sketchbook and I put up my pencil. I was like, no, wait. I had the lead pointer and the sharpener where you gotta like rotate it to sharpen it, and then
that's separate
erase. Like that was me.
Yeah.
And I loved doing it. And I would go to certain things. I'd always keep it with me and draw from whatever was around to inspire me. And then as soon as somebody would look at me, and I hated that my dad would do that. My dad would see me drawing or doing work, and he'd just come over behind my shoulder and just look, because he's proud and he enjoys it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, Dad, like, you got to stop. Now I don't want to do anything. And I'm looking at him. He's like, what? And I'm like, stop looking at me. He's like, I'm just looking. I'm like, I'm seeing what you was doing. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, go away. He's making this worse. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's wild. I definitely get that feeling, man. What are like two things that you try to do to kind of get over that feeling, or that you have gotten over that feeling with?
Stuff like this. Honestly, one of the things that makes me very apprehensive is being vulnerable in the things that I create. Even if I'm just fooling around and sketching, like right now, like I'm joking around, I'm sketching, I'm just doing whatever.
Yeah.
I knew if I was gonna come on here and be with the great Hab, I was eventually gonna have to get on this. And I was like, well, just do it. Who the hell cares? Like, just draw whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be anything serious. And then, call it a day. And that's what I did. So, like, I forced myself to do certain things. And I've been that way since I was a kid. Like, I used to be scared of the dark when I was young.
Oh wow.
And when I say young, I mean like 7, 8 years old.
Yeah.
You want to know what I did?
What'd you do? Sit in the dark?
I got up at 3 a.m. one day and went in the living room and just sat in the middle of the floor for an hour.
You did the Kevin McAllister.
I refused to move. Yes, when
you went down to the basement. I'm not afraid anymore.
It was like, hello, Kevin. It was like,
shut up.
Yeah, I did that when I was younger, and it helped me get over that. And so when the only thing that I think I can't get over, and I've tried to confront it as a fear, is heights. Bro,
that's
no
understandable.
matter how hard I try, it does not work.
That's understandable.
I just feel like I'm gonna die.
Well, I don't think we're supposed to be up that high anyway, so I get it. I want to be on the ground.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite? If you had to pick a cartoon character, and I'm specifically saying cartoon, not anime, right?
It's all the same to me.
But I'm saying that so you'll know why I'm differentiating it, so that way you eliminate any Asian-inspired character.
Okay.
No Japanese character. If you had to pick one that, as a cartoon, you had to watch for the rest of your life, only that series or cartoon character, who would it be?
Ed, Edd n Eddy.
Really?
Yeah, yo, let me tell you something. They were doing last year, I think it was like last Christmas or something like that. They were doing these marathons of all the older Nickelodeon cartoons, which are now like, I guess, ancient because kids have their new stuff. And I literally was sitting there laughing like it was brand new. Like I was having a good time, just like I knew what was going to happen, but it was still funny to me. So I can
Who's
definitely.
Your favorite character on the show? You look like a Rolf kind of guy.
I was gonna say Rolf. Now because did you see the Christmas special? Where he was singing a little Ishmael song. He's like Ishmael. I was like, yo. And it's funny because I watched an interview where Danny whatever his last name is, Bonatucci, he was saying that Rolf was literally him as a kid. He was like that super weird kid. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. I see that. Because he did put a lot of love into Rolf. Like, you saw Rolf more than any other side character in that whole show. Like, maybe Johnny 2x4 is like the next one after that. But Rolf was always there.
Oh, my gosh.
And he was crazy. They got conspiracy that cul-de-sac is the afterlife and Johnny 2x4 and Plank are like the gods of it or something.
Oh, I didn't know about that. But I definitely heard about that, the whole afterlife concept. That's just like with the whole Rugrats concept that they were all oh, I know you know this. You got to know this.
They were all what?
That none of the kids are actually alive. They're all either miscarriages or lost at birth, which is why the dad is always in the basement working on toys because he's not really dealing with the loss of the kid. Like there's a whole theory, just like with SpongeBob, the theory about where the Krabby Patties come from and all of that.
The fish.
Come on. No.
Yeah, Mr. Krabs eats his people. Yeah.
But the theory is that it's Pearl's mom because you never see her, and they feel like she was the original Krabby Patty that he's been supplying to everybody, and he's keeping Pearl around so that way, when she runs out,
Mr. Krabs is Sweeney Todd.
Exactly, the demon barber of Bikini Bottom. So there are all these crazy things.
They said Winnie the Pooh, Christopher Robin had like PTSD or something, and he imagined them. Like those are all like his imaginary friends, and like he's actually an older man or something like that. There's always like some cockamamie theory about like somebody being dead or non-existent or imaginary or with these cartoons all the time. Even Ash Ketchum, same thing. The reason why he's 10 years old forever because he passed away a long time ago in the first movie or something like that. So let the folks know, 1, where they can find you across the social webs, and 2, if you have any events coming up this year or projects that you would like to share.
All right, so let me situate myself. Let me tell you guys. Hold on. You know what? Let me see if I can make myself a little brighter for you guys.
Okay.
Maybe that'll help just a little bit. All right. So, I have been, as I spoke of earlier, I've been doing a lot of photography work. So I have created something called the Photo Takeover. And we are putting together a bunch of events. So I'll explain what the Photo Takeover is. If you are in the New York area, specifically NYC, Westchester, Long Island, like Suffolk County, you can absolutely participate. Jersey, etc. Anybody who's close enough to get here, or if you want to travel, like I'm all for that. Just travel, come in, hit me up. But the photo takeover is essentially a collaborative experience. It's birthed out of the idea of networking and making sure that people who want to break into the industry have the resources that are available to do so. A lot of us, we start to get into specific industries, and we either don't have a mentor or we don't have somebody who's able to tell us where to go or how to start. So it's always good to have those connections. And the photo takeover is that for people who are interested in photography, videography, modeling, might be a makeup artist, etc. We take them, we put them in one room. It's in a curated experiential session where provide the model, the shoot location, makeup artists, designers, stylists, etc. come together, create beautiful portfolio-worthy content. If you are a newcomer, we teach you how to do certain things. If you are already experienced, you just come in and you get the flow and you start kicking up your own wheels, and then you make the content that you want to make. Our next upcoming one is in August, like August 19th. However, we have them, they're going to be intermittent, like every 2 weeks for tier 1 events for all levels, but focused for the people who are newer at these things. And then we'll be doing them bi-weekly, monthly, and then quarterly. Tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 events. So you can follow me at the Photo Takeover on Meetup, thephototakeover.com. If you go there, it will take you there. And we are just now building our Instagram page, the Photo Takeover, obviously. So it would be amazing to have people check in and see the upcoming events there. As far as art goes, you can find me at The One Will Focus, all spelled out. I've always been that way, theonewillfocus.com. And you'll see a lot of my photography work there. I do illustration still, but like we spoke of earlier, it's more of a personal, I'm doing this because I love it type thing. If you want to connect with me on that, feel free to DM me at any time. After that, just like I'm looking to collaborate with people. So even without things coming up, just like with Hab, like, hey Hab, I would like to collaborate with you on some things too. You know what I mean? Like, let's talk about these things. Hab is great at discussing, things that pertain to us as artists and facilitating that. So I would love to see him create something like that, wouldn't you? I know you would. And so we can all fill in and come together, especially as Black men, it's a great thing. And if anybody's interested in networking and building something together, I'm always open to it. Hit me up. The One Will Focus on everything. I don't shy away from my DM.
He sure don't. As a person that experienced it firsthand, he sure don't. Okay. But Will, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing these gems, your experience and this knowledge. And I look forward to everything that you create coming up. But guys, until next time, until we meet again, stay rad, stay dope, stay gold. We out. Deuces.